and I'm going to do it before I sit down and start my evening meal, whatever. But make it specific and write it down and have a deadline, and that's break it down. And that's the same with writing. Just that 20. That's why the 20 minutes is sacrosanct. Anybody can afford 20 minutes. You do 20 minutes just scrolling through social media, which they now know is really quite damaging and quite demoralizing. So just take 20 minutes out of that, and you don't have to hear about America and Trump and Brexit and COVID and a bit of that. 5 minutes a day is enough to catch up with all of what's going on in your own world. it's what's important. And next. And then, if you're going to do this, how can you actually get yourself into the mode? Well, here's some tips. You can set an alarm so you know the time, like the school bell. There is that lovely little critics tape we've got down, so you can use that. You can download that from YouTube and use it. Draw a pic, write a journal entry, use the mandala, use the creative writing, just to oil the cog, so you're not straight into your expressive writing, and they really just work just as well to put you in touch with stuff. And the next, and when you're writing, don't worry about the show, or when you're whatever you're doing, don't worry about the show. Just make sure that it doesn't matter how it looks, how it spells, how it sounds. It's your work. You don't have to edit as you go along. Just write and stop after 20 minutes would be my big advice. And next. And we did mind maps. We know about that. This fantastic way of organizing your life. And I think, what I love is that people have said, they've used this for other stuff like business meetings. Niall was using it. Ben always used it. I think Sebastian was saying he was using it for working out a role the other day or something. I know it has a use. And let's just have a quick recap of mind maps, just to remind you very briefly. To go to the next one, you have your central goal and you have your branches. And the next, and just one branch, one idea. So planning there, you can see. Then only use one word, one image, like the little flag, and try to get as many different colors for the main lines. And the reason you do that is that you can read it at a glance. You can read your holiday itinerary, you can read your business plan, you can read your next chapter, you can read your outline for an essay, you can read your what are the reasons to get a new car, change house, change job, change boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever it is. It all works. And the next, and we did our best holiday. And a few of those are published. Emma's was published on Sunday, Sebastian the week before. So that's all good. And, that's really, really great. And maybe we'll get a couple more up. And next. And that's it. I've done a chapter outline now. I do with mind maps. So it's brilliant. I'm really into that, the drawing side of my brain now. And next. And then there's the tape. Don't forget your tape. So you can listen to that tape. Can you play it there, Emma, or is that too tricky? Doesn't matter. Does it work on screen?
No, I think it's the volume. I'm not sure if people can hear it here. Yeah.
But it's there. So go on to, you have the link. It's with all the other courses. You can download it. You can you download YouTube? You can, we'll get it to you if you really want it. It's an MP3 recording. I can email it to you, or Emma can, and you can use it whenever you want. It's good to just ground you, as we've done every week. And next. And then we did art therapy, which I love. I really love this. I didn't know much about it beforehand, how this can access, and you don't have to be a great artist. And next. And we did this drawing of the tree, and next, you as a tree, you as a house, and what that tells you. And what do you see in the image? And allow your subconscious just to and mix it around. Some days do your journal, some days do a drawing, whatever works. And next. And the mandalas, which is beautiful. I loved last week's, and it was really wonderful to find that, these wonderful, simple shapes. And we showed how to do a simple one. I actually did it with my grandson last Sunday, and he was very impressed with my mandala. Looked pretty good, actually. And So it was great to teach him, and he, the kids are into drawing, and they just took to it like a duck to water, and they went as precise as we are, but it's just fascinating. And next, and my great friend Carl Jung, my great hero Carl Jung, he loved them, so they're very deep. And next, and here's and used in behavioral therapy a lot. So you're giving yourself, you're giving, so many people, seek help, they need therapy. And if we get into this 20 minutes a day, you're actually, and you're using all this stuff, it's actually like giving yourself, it's like brushing your teeth, it's like really keeping yourself emotionally healthy. I think it's fantastic. These things are really useful. Whether you turn into a writer is irrelevant, absolutely irrelevant. You just, your benefit. It's all researched and it all works. And we all know that, we've experienced that. And next, and a couple of things with the mandala, you sort of draw the small circle, and next, and this exercise I did with my grandson, and the small circles get smaller as you go along, bigger as you go along, and then you add on little petals, and then you add on bigger petals. It's really very simple. And then you find time, if you have the time, then you can start putting in colors and dots or full colors, and 10 minutes. And everything will actually come from inside you, and the colors all represent stuff, but you don't have to go into that. And next. So what I got out of the course, well, I thought I'd better share first. I got a lot of hidden treasures, as I've said. And next, I love the journaling. I'm sitting nearly every morning. I don't think you have to make any of this hard and fast. Just you're on. It's like you go for a walk, you go for a run, you go for a box, you go for a swim. It's all getting out there, and it's similar with this. But I really enjoy the journaling now. It's very interesting. As a writer, it's interesting, and I love this. I love giving myself the permission to turn off the phone and leave them outside and say, if I could, I'm not available now for the next 2 hours. I'll pop out after an hour, check, because I'm still working. But it's great to give that permission. I really enjoy. And I think the drawing is really, as you can see from the diary, it's completely transformed the way I'm thinking, and I think it's very, very creative. I love the drawing end of it, so it's opened up a whole new door. And next, working with Emma has been fantastic. I think that really shows the power of a creative relationship, and how two heads are definitely better than one, and that you're swimming against the tide. If you're doing it all on your own, it's tough. Some things you have to do on your own, but it's great if you can develop. I've found it very, very useful. And isn't it incredible? Emma came over to Dublin to be an intern in Be Creative, then had to return back to her country, and we've probably had an even better working relationship since she went back remotely. It's bizarre. I wouldn't have thought that was possible. So I think that's a big takeaway from this. There are more ways to skin a cat. So that's been great. And Emma's been a great resource, and looking forward to doing more stuff together. And next, I think the power of doing something for others is really helpful. I know that from doing the homeless work, and it's interesting. They did this very famous experiment with students in the US. It's a sort of landmark study about altruism, which means helping others without reward, if you like. The reward is itself. And so they had this thing where they said to young students, said, okay, you've got a choice now. We're going to pay you to stay in and eat pizza and watch a movie, or you can go and help a homeless project. And then people decided and did what they did, and then they ended up switching around, and then they did this analysis at the end, like, what did you get the most pleasure out of? And everybody was thinking, well, obviously, young guys, pizzas, cuddling up on the sofa, what's going to beat that? Absolutely the opposite. Strange streets in the cold weather gave them more emotional satisfaction, and I've just I just believe that, and if you can, so actually doing this has been great as a sort of just to be able to throw a little bit of something back to the Order of Malta, who are near to my heart. So that's been great. It's been great to do something. And the next slide, And it's great to create something out of nothing. Like 8-9 weeks ago, I sat down remotely with Emma and said, let's do this. This would be interesting. It'd be learning, really, a learning curve for us. And, you don't know then. You just, you think nobody's going to turn up. And I always think about Field of Dreams. I don't know if you've never seen that movie. It's a great movie. And it's about this guy who just gets this vision. He has to build this field for baseball stars in the middle of, this agricultural region. Everybody thinks he's mad. He goes broke. And yet this magical, mystical thing happens. All these heroes from the past arrive and start playing baseball. So field, and they will come. Not, oh, I better engage, make sure they all come first. You have to just, so I think that's a lesson in doing anything, writing a book, starting a sport project, starting a business, starting a relationship. I'm not sure. I think that's maybe slightly different, but I think it's when you're doing something from scratch and it's not there before. Just doing it is never easy, but build a field and they will come. And you are the guys walking out of the field there. So fair play to you guys. Anyway. So let's turn it over to you, and let's just we'll just pick at. Right, I'm going to let Emma pick the people now this time. So you can pick them and bring them up onto the screen, and you can just chat for 2 or 3 minutes. That's all we had time for everybody. Just what you got out of this, and where you'd like to go. And we can continue meeting if people want to do that, but we'll talk about that at the end. So Emma, pick it, and so it's a chance to just share what you've got out of it.
Yeah. So, okay. Clodagh, do you want to start today with kind of your sharing?
Don't ask her, just tell her. That's your job now.
Clodagh, please start us off with your sharing.
Yeah, what I think I got out of it anyway was, Emma, you were talking about the whole concept of community at the beginning, and I think just having something to do with people every week has been such a bonus. And I also think it's been a motivation in getting me back to actually writing with a pen and not on a laptop.
Yeah, that's interesting. How have you found that, Chloe? And Chloe is a professional writer. She works with me and Be Creative, writes thousands of words a week for a national newspaper. And how have you found going back to cursive?
It's kind of, it's a little bit like a release or something. It kind of takes you away from other, like the job. Obviously, I love writing and that, but it is a job as well. So doing expressive writing for yourself I just found it beneficial. So I think there are some days I'll do it every kind of second day. I suppose this week work has been getting busier again, but I will make sure that I'm still doing at least 2 or 3 days, 20 minutes a day even.
Yeah.
I find it's best when I do it in the evening. I kind of like to come into my room at my desk, light a candle, maybe put on a face mask and get the pen and paper out. Yeah, and I think it's been good.
So that's a ritual now. It's becoming a ritual. Yeah, and you see how powerful that is, to get that ritual happening. And I think there I see Heather Bryant. Heather's joined us, which is great, from America. And she has actually had her book of hers launched last night. I did try to join, but Eventbrite made it pretty nigh impossible to join it. That's another thing. So Heather, we're reaching out a hand to welcome you. And it's great to have another writer here. So we'll have a chat to you before we finish off, just to hear how your launch went last night. She had a very interesting book, and maybe she'll tell us a bit about that.
Sounds good. Thanks.
Anyway, Claire, anything else? So any other things? So the major takeaway for you has been then?
Just that I think, what would I say the major takeaway is? I think just to put aside a bit more time to myself.
Okay.
I think just things can get very busy, and the expressive writing just gives me a chance to kind of get into my own mind and read back and see what I was thinking at different times, and get my emotions out onto a page. I think it's been very beneficial anyway.
That's brilliant. I'm so delighted to hear that. I really am really delighted to hear that, because life's not easy for so many different reasons for all of us. We all have our challenges. And I think if you can find a way that is, it's safe, it's not relying on, drugs, and it's not relying on whatever sort, like chocolate's a drug, everything's a drug actually. But, it's an organic way of accessing. And I think that's fantastic. And I love the idea of the ritual. Not sure about the face mask. You better post a picture of that so we can really,
I'd highly recommend it. Give it a go, Kevin.
I would second that. I'm sure of the face mask as well. I like it.
Okay, I put well in me box there. Okay, I'll step back. Okay, okay, thanks, Chloe.
Thanks, Kev.
Cheers.
And I'll go from the bottom of my screen up. So Karen, you're up next if you would like to come on and join, or please come on and join.
Okay, Karen, welcome. Just unmute yourself.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to do.
Great.
A couple of key things that I've come away with. One of them, it's already been expressed. The ritual of it is it's healing. It really is. The other thing I found very useful is the mind map. It just is something that clicks for me to organize things so that I can see them visually, and just get them out there. The only other thing is it's interesting to see the difference that writing it by hand does make for me. Okay. It's much more fluid, much easier to write that way than it is to sit on the computer, even though I don't have to the writing by hand does include an additional step if you're going to be transcribing. Yeah. But the end result is that I can do it by hand.
You've noticed that, and is that eloquence of thought? Is it, in what way have you seen an amelioration, an improvement?
I think eloquence of thought is a good way of putting it. Using the computer, it's stunted to some extent. Stilted language versus the more organic fluidity that you get in just writing.
Yeah, it was so interesting. David Balducci was the other writer I listened to this podcast with from, I think it was HarperCollins. Anyway, he's millions and billions and billions of books, and Michael Connolly. And one of them made exactly the same point. They've gone back to cursive writing. And well, it worked for Shakespeare, worked for Dante, worked for Voltaire, worked for Oscar Wilde. So, why not? Give it a try. So that's great. Well, that's really great to hear. So thanks for that, Karen. And,
thank you.
I think I froze there for a little bit, but
just at random, pick whoever you want next. So we don't know when it's going to happen.
Okay. Let's go ahead and go to Seb next. Okay. If you want to come on.
I do. So I remember just in the last few hours before this that we were supposed to do like a mind map for 200 words. So I did do like a quick mind map of the course. So I don't know if you want to see that or anything like that. So I'll try. So I might just, I'll try and zoom in a little bit. It's probably unreadable because my handwriting is not that great. But at least, but I think probably I think the biggest thing for me with the course was probably realizing a little bit more about my self-critic, and where it slips in. And
tell us a bit about that. Give us an example where you caught it doing the slip in.
Well, it came from we were doing some shooting over Zoom, me and Kevin, for some kind of challenge thing, and we were talking about it, and then we were doing the takes, and I think it was became, I can't even really remember now, but I think it was between you talking and me talking. And it was only when I think you kind of identified the self-critic that then it kind of came back to me about other times I'd tried to submit stuff for this challenge where I would kind of almost talk myself out of it, or how I was doing it to myself and not realizing it wasn't actually quite nerves, or it was actually just sort of and how seems I need to start doing it, and then I'll slip into it. So I guess like a little bit of self-deception. So, but I didn't find it challenging with the expressive writing at all. Now with the expressive writing, like I would just start, whether it be just, the sun is warm, just start no matter what it was, and then fall into it. So it was never, and I guess because there was not like anything made to be sent, I kind of knew that it was just the very act and exercise of it. But I think that coming through is actually some of the things like mind maps or the expressive writing, is that they're tools that allow me to when I don't know someone to either talk to, or some kind of external stimulation, whether it's walking out into the city or just having other events, that it allows you to, or I think it may allow me to just either develop ideas for articles or any kind of, or even for roles, as I mentioned with the mind maps. I was thinking of that for the mind maps, because to try and figure out what was going on for the person that I was meant to be playing as, and to figure out what they could be thinking about, and just to make sure I wasn't missing out on any details that was kind of skewing how I was behaving on the tape. So I think that was kind of something for me. Yeah.
Right. That's brilliant. I mean, that's so rich. And, like, I'm just sort of blown away by, there is so much, we can learn. And, a lot of people on this call are highly accomplished in their fields, and it's fantastic to see how much these tools can really help, these rituals, these can really, really make a difference. So thanks for sharing that. And I look forward to seeing you on camera soon.
No worries.
Okay, Emma, pick the magic wand.
All right, let's go with Maura next.
Okay.
Maura, I'm in love with your jacket, by the way. I'm so jealous.
My brother calls this my sheep.
I love it.
Sorry, I don't know. My internet went today, so I'm on my phone, and my phone keeps dropping here. Sorry, I'm dying, dropping and dying. But I just wanted to say, I guess I was doing.
Are you out of sorts? Are you sick? Are you sick in any way?
No, I've just been extremely busy. I've had I've been minding all my siblings' children while they've all gone back to work, because I've been off. I'm off until July 20th. So I've been minding like 6 children for about 2 weeks now. Wow. And it's been quite hectic and exhausting. So yeah, I'm sick and tired. But no, I haven't really had a minute. I think I was doing really, really well with my writing, with my rituals, my routine, and then just the past week, it's all gone to pot. But definitely with this, I've gotten more back into the flow of writing. I was always a cursive writer and pen on paper. But definitely my confidence has grown a lot since I started the course. Wow. And
give us an example, or just give us one little, tip.
Just I'm more sure of myself, like I guess I'm shaking off the doubt in my mind by doing, or the exercises, with your ego, self-doubt, those kind of things, just assuring myself that no, like those voices in my head are just voices in my head, that they're not actually, it's not real.
Yeah,
So that's
yeah,
definitely really been very effective for me.
yeah.
But I do want to get back more into my routine, which I have lost in the past 2 weeks. But yeah, I've gotten so much from this course. I have absolutely loved every minute of it. And, you know, I have started some of my travel articles, and I have, you know, looked back on so many of my amazing travel memories and started some of my diaries on those as well. So that's been quite an adventure. But yeah, I love the mind mapping. That's great for me because my head is a wild place. So
Great. Well, listen, that's fantastic to hear. And I think what I would say to you very sincerely and to everyone here, including myself, is be very careful when you fall off the wagon that the critic doesn't keep you off the wagon. Because that's what tends to happen. Yeah, well, you never were able for that. Look, why are you even bothering? You know, and that's where the critic can really come in and, you know, it's that's why people stop exercising because they miss a week, or they stop dieting, or they stop, you know, whatever they're doing. They think, I tried it for 3 weeks, I'll give up now. You know, and I think that is an easy trap for the critic. Just to know that it's a trap is good, because then you can say, okay, well, what the hell? You know, I do one session. Clodagh says she does, you know, 3 or 4 a week, and it's fine. You know, you don't have to make this a religion. It's not. It's just it's just sort of slightly recalibrating where you're at and those things. So just be careful that the critic doesn't sort of keep you off track.
no, I find it such an enjoyable thing to do, whether it's just for myself or not. It's something that I absolutely love doing. So it's something I'll keep going with. But I completely understand. Yeah, when you do lose your momentum when you're kind of fall out of your habits for a couple of weeks.
And this is what the community is good. So it is good, sort of accountable to each other in a way. And just remember, you know, that you know, the research shows that if you do this sort of stuff, you will feel emotionally stronger.
Yeah, like if you didn't have the recap, I'm sure that it would be very easy just to slide, completely fade away with it. But it is nice to have this and be like, okay, I've got that. This is coming up. Okay, I'll stick with it.
Yeah, exactly. It just gives that little bit of structure. So that's great.
Yeah.
Great to hear, and we'll keep going. And looking forward to reading your stuff.
Thank you.
Okay, Emma.
All right. What was that?
Spin the wheel.
Spinning the wheel. Spinning the wheel in my head. Let's go with Anne next.
Okay, you froze for a second.
Did I? Let's go with Anne next.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hello. Okay, so I wrote some notes. I did a mind map. Kind of. I hope.
Speaking from New York, we have a very eclectic group tonight. My goodness me. What time is it in New York?
3:48.
Okay.
Yeah. So my inner critics, of course, saying, "Oh, did I do this right?" But I just looked at the mind map, and this mind map is more of the future. So what did this group give to me to be able to have this ability and habit to take this 20 minutes daily, hopefully, and give myself the peace, turn off all the devices, and that's going to bring clarity. And that this suddenly out of nowhere, this third eye idea came. And I think that's to do with intuition and seeing more what's really there. But that just came to my mind, right? So I did that.
Because that is the you know, the soul's view.
Yeah. So let's see. I jotted down some of the takeaways. So thank you both, Kevin and Emma. This has been really good. And I would say for me, it's been a relief. It's been a refuge, and it's been an escape. Just given the givens. It has, for me, I guess it's reinforced that my voice deserves to be heard, despite the inner critic saying otherwise. It actually is helping me with my other daily writing that I'm supposed to do in other programs, courses, and including the gratitude list. So that's great. And then it gives me permission to really reward myself with this uninterrupted 20 minutes. And that's really self-care. And I've combined it where I can with time outside during this lockdown and now curfew. And I have loved being in this community and seeing all the little faces on the Brady Bunch board. And it's nice. It's nice because it's, you know, I'm in a very competitive, highly competitive environment for work. And it's so nice to be around, like, it's relaxed, it's gentle, there's nobody competing to get the best 200 words. And it's just so like yummy. So I've soaked that in, and I've really loved all of the aha moments you've all had in taking that into your lives. And I think, well, and then I have an idea for moving forward, but I'll save that for when you do that. So that's it. Thank you. Big thank you.
Well, that's fantastic, because as Anne said, she's been in New York and it's been hammered by, you know, all around between, you know, the civil unrest, virus, pandemic. I mean, it's like, you know, it's like a Tom Cruise horror movie, but it actually has been happening without Tom Cruise, which I'm not sure is good or bad, but we'll come back to that. Sorry if there's any Scientologists. I'm sorry. I'm not casting any aspersions. Far be it from me. Great. Thanks, Anne. Emma, before I get into serious trouble.
Yeah, let's go ahead and go with Niall.
So,
Firstly, how is your daughter? Because if you remember last week, Niall had been you know, preoccupied a bit because his wonderful daughter had fallen, and it turned out she actually had a break.
Yeah. So I brought her to the hospital, and the next day, so because she was fine even after, she was crying for the first while, and then she was going around like there was nothing wrong. But because just the way she was holding the arm, it didn't look right. And then the next day, she was still kind of holding it wrong. So even though she didn't seem like she was in pain, I just brought her down anyway. And yeah, it turned out there was a little fracture on her. So she's in a cast now for a few weeks. But she's fine.
And did you have to queue up long? Usually pre-lockdown. How long were you?
No, I was in and out in 2 hours, X-ray and all, cast, everything on. So
long live the lockdown. That's all.
Yeah. So
okay.
It was going to happen sooner or later. She's a bit mad, and she's always climbing on things and everything. So I'd like to say I slowed her down a little bit, but it didn't at all. So it just, she keeps insisting on getting on things. But anyway, she's fine. She's fine. So, I suppose as with the course, like I came on kind of maybe thinking it was gonna be more about actual writing, maybe a bit more formally. I don't know, like maybe that was just something in my head that I had. But then I actually kind of ended up, it was kind of more about the creativity than actually the writing for me, if you know what I mean. So like I just wrote down a few things, and it was just to be more creative, to try and be more creative, not just with the writing. So in my job and then all the time. So the mind mapping and taking my time without any distractions, you know, without leaving the phone there every time you kind of get the itch, you know what I mean? Just like kind of put it away and kind of just have that kind of blank. And I remember the phrase that you said, you know, that you have to let boredom kick in for creativity to kind of really kick in. I never really heard that before, so it's something that I'm taking with me, you know, and I'm kind of saying it to people in work now as if I know it for years. And
what are you saying? What are you saying to them?
I tell them to put the phone away.
Okay.
Yeah, all that sort of stuff. But no, well, I suppose at this time in work it's a bit different, because we are like they were not dealing with the public, and we are kind of doing different things, and we are kind of working by ourselves at home, trying to come up with new ideas and new plans for reopening and stuff. So things like that, you know, I'm kind of passing it on. And then the taking the time, no distractions. The edit later, I suppose, is a big one as well. And with the pen, not just on the laptop, because I suppose I haven't really kind of done much writing at all. And now that I've kind of gone back to kind of the, you know, good level education. Everything is on a laptop now. And I just thought, like, why wouldn't you just put everything on a laptop, you know, so you can copy and paste and blah, blah, blah. But I suppose, like, just writing everything down and the edit later, I suppose, is the big point there. Like, just let yourself go off on one for a while. And then even if most of it's crap, you'll still get something out of it, you know, or kind of a start to it, you know. Whereas if you try and do it on the laptop, you have the red lines coming up underneath all the time, and, you know, for your spelling, your grammar and whatever else. So it's kind of, I suppose, that way it's quite good, because you're not stopping and starting, you're just letting yourself go.
Yeah.
You know, and then the mind map is obviously a good one. You know, it's like a brainstorming, but, you know, it's kind of maybe just a different way of thinking of it. And then, yeah, I came onto the course hoping that it would help me with college work and maybe assignments, trying to get started with written assignments and other things, and to do with work. And it will, you know, even I'm kind of employing it now, and I know when I go back in September, it will. I'll use what I just said, you know what I mean, to kind of get me going, you know. So in that way, whereas I thought it might have been kind of coming on to, it might help me with more like I said, the more formal kind of writing, but in fact it was the other way around. It was kind of, you know, just getting the stuff out there and just getting my thoughts onto the paper, you know.
Yeah.
So that's what I got.
Great. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. That's brilliant. Should have charged a couple of $1,000 a head. I mean, that's ridiculous when I think about that.
I'll take it. You can take it off my bill.
I'll invoice you later. You're a man of means, I know.
Well, you owe me a lot of money, so we'll knock it off your bill.
Okay. Right. Okay, Emma, spin the wheel.
Yes, let's go ahead and go with Claire.
Okay.
Hi. Okay, so I think when we started the course, we started lockdown, and I think what I really took from the course was seeing everyone on screen and hearing the stories, and just hearing everybody's kind of journey. And I know I missed 2 weeks, but that's because it's been a bit crazy. And the last 2 weeks it's been really challenging to focus on writing, but it made me realize that when the inner critic kicks in, I find the pressure is no need to have that pressure. So I find myself starting to look for what I need to be able to write without know what I need to do, like find that space, and then I feel like I can just write a bit more easily without the pressures of life. And so it's been sort of finding what really helps me write from the heart, I guess.
Wow. And how's that been for you?
Yeah, it's been okay. I mean, I mentioned I work in a garden centre, and I've noticed that when I start feeling under pressure, I can't focus as much. So what I've been doing is I've been going in really, really early when everything is very quiet. There's no people, or there's probably the manager because he has to open, and I spend an hour just outside when there's no, when the world has actually stopped. Because in lockdown, everything was stopped, and I really enjoyed that. And going back to it was quite challenging. People, the noise, and things that we hadn't been used to for the last 2 months. And I feel like actually now I need that to be able to just center myself. So I kind of take that time to either walk in, really early to work when it's just nice and you've just got that quiet, and then I can start to.
Yeah. And do you think you'll be able to, can you find pockets of time where you can then connect through the writing?
Yeah, because then I think it stays, because
the feelings stay, and then I can just put them on paper.
Okay.
So the feelings don't just go. I can reconnect to that moment where I was feeling, that piece, and then I can just write it and it just flows. So I just tend to do it when, I don't do it every day. I mean, especially the last 2 weeks, but when I have done it, it's because I have gone to find that space.
Which is brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
That's great. You're even talking with a sort of a confidence and a depth, which is brilliant. That's great.
Thank you.
Okay, that's fantastic. Well done, Claire. Well done. Okay, Emma, our wheel is getting smaller and smaller, but spin it.
It definitely is. Ben, do you want to unmute?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Emma. Thanks, Kev. Just to say, like others have said, thanks a million to you both for the past 7 weeks. I didn't realize how late it was in the game. I missed last week and I thought it was week 5, but it was week 6. So yeah, it's gone by so quick. So thanks. For me, I guess, as someone who works as a writer and in media, this course has been amazing because it's just been so grounding and really brought me back to basics, I guess. I mean, Kev, Chloe as well. I'm sure that when you work as a writer, you spend an awful lot of time doing things that are very unrelated to writing a lot of the time, especially if you work for media and in today's media environment. You might be hired as a writer and editor, but you might find yourself writing HTML, uploading stuff to websites, or editing a podcast, or having to film videos, or, a lot of things in a lot of different media. You have to know about social media. If you want to be an author, some publishers won't consider you until you have 20,000 Twitter followers. So you kind of need to be able to do a lot that maybe is unrelated to writing. So, and I find myself doing that in my job. So you can very easily lose your own voice. And so this course has been very important, I think, for me, just to make sure I find that time, that 20 minutes a day, to get important thoughts down, to commemorate a dream, or just make sure I've written down what occurred in my sleep the night before, so that if I want to do something with it later, or just be able to chart what's happening in my day-to-day outside of anything to do with work. So yeah, I suppose for me it's tapped into that. And I suppose the wider aspects of the course that I found quite profound, as well, as I know from working with you over the years, Kev, you're always interested in tapping into the universal and how that relates to, maybe us as individuals. And I was looking back earlier at last week's course, and it's very profound to learn about the mandalas, and reminded me of a book that I know is very dear to you, Kev. You gave me a copy of it, The Writer's Journey. And I think you mentioned Joseph Campbell earlier in the course, and the monomyth. And so the mandalas reminded me of that, in a way that, there are these circular symbols that recur through religions and different cultures. And that's kind of what Joseph Campbell tapped into when he noticed that there were myths that occurred in different societies over time that had really common elements, and that formed the basis of his book on the hero's journey, which formed the basis of the writer's journey, which inspired a lot of Hollywood screenwriters to come up with their scripts, including Star Wars, as I think you mentioned, Kev. So just kind of those universal elements to the human experience, and tapping into that and tapping into our own thought process. The course has been really useful for grounding all that for me.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That's fantastic to hear. And has it surprised you in any way as you've gone through that journey?
Yeah, I think so. I think I'd forgotten. I mean, I used to do a lot as a teenager and in college and stuff. You'd do a lot of journaling, and you maybe had more time, and you did self-reflection a bit more, maybe. If you were doing an arts course like I was, just keeping track of my own thoughts over time. And I suppose it surprised me just to get back into that, and how helpful it can be, even for yourself psychologically, just to try and do it as regularly as you can. For me, I like to do it at the end of the day, just before I go to bed or whatever. You spend those 20 minutes with your journal and you handwrite, and you know, it's kind of, okay, this is how I finish up the day now. And then you have a sense of completion, which is good.
Yeah, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. Well, that's fantastic. And, you know, like I know Ben's an old colleague and incredibly accomplished writer, and, you know, an incredible mind. And so it's fantastic to hear that. I think what it, it really goes to show that it's all, there's so much richness there that we sometimes miss. And maybe the one thing I was trying to work out why I was sad when I heard the lockdown was sort of being unlocked. And I think it's this case of the fact that we're not running around chasing our tails. You know, the world has never been on a retreat, ever. And maybe this is the first time in human history, it's quite profound, really, that we've all had to sort of just take a pause. And so, you know, and this, you know, what I'm hearing from people is, you know, their own particular way of drilling into that. You know, we've had that little bit of extra time, and how precious that is, actually, you know, and you know, there's some great ways of doing it. There's some great ways of, you know, you getting in process. Okay, well, listen, I think we've, you know, Heather had to go, but she left a note, so maybe she'll join us for another occasion, because it would have been interesting to hear. But I'm glad she was able to come along, so thanks for introducing her. And I'd like to hear how her book launch went. Yes, now, Emma, I think you're taking over now. I think everybody's done.
Yes, I am. Let me go ahead and share my screen. There we go. And before I bring this up, I know we have an idea that we wanted to share with you all about kind of next steps, but I know, Anne, you were saying that you had an idea that you wanted to mention, and if you want to mention that now, I would love to hear it. I think we all would.
Thank you, really briefly. And I just wanted to share with you, Heather wrote me, she was so happy to be in the company of writers, and what she was going to share about was the challenge now of her going back to ordinary routine of writing after finishing a big project. So she had her book published last night by Hachette, and she did a book launch with Zoom, and it was like 140 people, so it was fun. But I'm sure she'll, you know, you'll meet her again, but she's amazing. My thought was, perhaps if this continues, to have some kind of a goal, some kind of a topic, versus just kind of checking in. I don't know, the accountability part was
Surely, Anne, I mean, come on, you know, like 10 cents is you know, not $1. No, okay, sorry, that's a joke. My jokes aren't very good, as people will. Niles looking knowingly at me. Clodagh, there's no need for that. Okay, Claire, stop. Look, what we were thinking of doing is essentially was just you know, allowing people, what we were going to do was to take 2 people a week and let them read some of the stuff they've been coming up with, and then giving some feedback, and then getting people to give feedback. So you actually have a chance, a platform to, whatever you've been working on, you have a chance to express it and actually get feedback. Because I think what happens with most people is, it's like an idea. You know, a lot of ideas need the oxygen of opening her mouth and letting it out. Of course, opening her mouth and letting out an idea is the terrifying bit. You know, like, that's the bit where, you know, the knife goes in, and the critic and, you know, just life says, oh, who'd want to hear me? And why would I be opening my mouth? And so it's a challenge, but I think it's a great challenge, and maybe people are in a position, and I thought, like, you know, you've all contributed, so wouldn't this be a good idea? But Emma, you go ahead and sort of fill in the bits.
Yeah, so let me pull up my screen because this is what we were kind of thinking of is, like Kev said, having 2 people per week to share their writing, kind of 10 to 15 minutes of discussion, or 10 to 15 minutes to share and then discussion afterwards just to get feedback. And then having this kind of platform where if you send in your writing on Tuesday, we can go ahead and, know which people are going to present by Friday, so that you can have that discussion. And we were thinking of, capping it at 500 words, just so that we have enough time to both read and go over the discussion. So this was kind of our next step pitch. What we were thinking about.
And also, you don't necessarily have to, it doesn't necessarily have to be 500 words written. It could be an idea, like if Niall has an idea for, your next business plan, or Ben has an idea for a book, or, I mean, what we've done tonight is shared what we got out of it. I suppose the next thing is, how do we then, refine those ideas and, support each other? And so it's open. I mean, like as we said last week, is this something that appeals to people? Maybe we could have a show of hands or something, or are people in a position where they would like to share their ideas and get feedback? So they would, yeah. So Chloe, I can't see this. Yeah. I just want to get an idea, and so I think too, and I didn't see everybody. For some reason, I think it's because we have the thing on the screen. I can't actually see everybody at once. So why don't we try that? Does that make sense? Next Friday, who's up for sharing an idea for next week? Let's see if we can get a couple of people now. Anybody? Niall, you got your hand up first, and let's have a look. And Emma, you picked the other person, so we have Niall and.
Let me. My screen is.
I can't see everybody. So.
Yeah, let me stop sharing.
So we've definitely got Niall, one. And then, if you want to say something, you just speak up from, audibly, so we can see if you're one of the guys that would like to pitch an idea out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I see a few people with their hands up. That's great. Yeah, yeah, that sounds great, Kev. Yeah.
You'd be up for it as well?
Yeah, definitely,
But,
definitely.
I mean, is there anybody, am I taking it that most people would like to contribute? So why don't we just draw up a schedule? Wouldn't that be right, Emma? And say, like next week we'll go with Niall and Coda, for example. The following week we go, Anne and Karen, then Sebastian, Maura, Claire and Ben. How's that? Does that work? Or?
Yeah, works for me. Yeah.
Okay. Well.
And we can, once we draft that schedule, we can then send it out in an email as well. And obviously,
you don't have to send the ideas into us. You can just present on screen. If you want to send the ideas into us, send them in by, the Tuesday or an outline. Mm-hmm. But I think that energy could work. Like leaving it as open, and then, it could be an idea for whatever. For example, Chloe, what were you thinking of? Just to sort of just get a sense from the group.
At the moment, I don't have a particular idea in mind. I'm trying to think. I might do something travel related, and maybe something about what I've learned from travel during this lockdown, or what I've missed about travel. That could be something, but I think I'd have a better idea.
What's also really great about even that interaction there is that having the opportunity is like having a deadline. So it may actually give you a little spur to say, mm-hmm. That half-formed idea, now I have a platform, which is both terrifying. And if people have, they have an urgent idea or they want to do it particularly urgently, then just let myself and Emma learn, because I think as a group, you know, we can say, okay, if someone has I have to get this idea off the ground, can I express it next week? I don't think people will get, you know, pushed out of shape too much if that's the case, you know? Because
Sorry, Kevin, to interrupt. Is that jumping then from 200 words to 500 for these group pieces?
what I'm seeing, so we just pitched an idea there, okay? So myself and Emma, you know, spent quite a bit of time yesterday trying to think of something. It's just an idea. From hearing people's reactions, I think I wouldn't, you know, I wouldn't restrict yourself. I think what we should do is restrict ourselves to time. And so if you have the idea for something, you know, like a travel, what's your possible idea? Just give us one idea you may be interested in.
Well, at the moment, I'm really struggling to condense one experience I had on a volcano in Guatemala into 200 words. So 500 words suits me better for the piece. Yeah, so just like little things like that, because I'm really struggling to put a travel stories into 200 words.
Yeah, I would continue to, I think there's, so what I would do, okay, so I think this is, this could be one way of doing this, is to say, okay, well, we're going to give 10 to 12 minutes per person. You have that to either read through whatever you have or pitch your idea to stress test it among the group. How does that work? So you could either say, okay, I've got a short piece, or more, for example, you could say, okay, I've got this introduction and the ending. I'm going to read it. What do you think, guys? And this is what I was also thinking of doing. And you've got your 12 minutes and this really is all for you, because the very act of, and we do this a lot, as you know, in sort of Be Creative, for example, you know, we have an idea for a magazine and we have an idea for a thing. We would pitch it. Pitching it has given you a certain clarity as to what doesn't work, and it's the performance that actually gives it sort of gives it clarity. Does that, Ben, have you anything to say on all of that, or have you got a lot of wisdom around all of this?
Yeah, no, I think that sounds good. One concern I might have that other people might have is around the recording of sessions, and if people wanted to keep things confidential that they wanted to share with the group or whatever. But I mean, that could be negotiated depending on the particular session. But I think, no, the feedback here,
we can stop recording, can't we, if people don't want to be, this is really just for a resource. If you don't want to be recorded, that we can stop that. That's absolutely no problem.
Definitely.
That's no problem at all.
Yeah, I think the group is very open and honest with each other, and we wouldn't want to jeopardize that, and just whatever people were suited people in terms of being able to facilitate that.
No, that's absolutely no problem. If you would say, I just want to say this idea without having to worry about it, that's no problem at all.
Yeah. And I do just want to mention, we are a bit over time, and I do want to respect everybody's time right now. But I this week can send out that email with that schedule, it sounds like, and we're always willing to have feedback from it. I know Anne sent over some really cool pieces this week, so if you have any feedback or comments, please feel free to send it over to us, and we can kind of look into it. I know there was also some issues with the Order of Malta link, so I'll put that in the email as well. A direct link, because I know that's been a little bit tricky. Again, no pressure, just putting it out there for people who need it. But yeah, just if you have any comments, concerns, we can field those in email.
And you know, just to sort of, you know, say it, you know, like you know, as Emma and myself, we love donating our time, and if you do want to give anything back, give it to the Order of Malta. And let's continue the journey and see how it goes, because you know, that's part of the fun actually, is, you know, you don't really know, like, we haven't done this before, we haven't had lockdown before, so we're sort of finding our way collectively, and that's all we can do, you know, with a good heart, and continue and see what works, and while it benefits us, humans tend to follow, and when it doesn't benefit them anymore, then they cease. So I think that's a sound, sort of rationale.
Yeah, I agree. But I think with that, we're at the conclusion of our cocktail party. So I don't know if anybody has any of their drink left. I hope none of the alcoholic beverages are left. But cheers, everybody, and thank you so much for joining us today. It's been so fun.
And we'll see you again next Friday, and let's take it from there. See how it goes. And it's sort of like, if it's like supporting each other. If we want to go ahead, we'll go ahead and come along and just give your support. That's it. And by supporting others, you're supporting yourself. So thank you. It's been fantastic, and it's been a memorable 7 weeks. So cheers.
Cheers.
Happy
and thank you so much to Emma and yourself for all your time.
Well,
Thoroughly enjoyable 7 weeks.